Today, for the very first time, I'm going to be listening to another brand new 21 Pilots album. And we're going to figure out which album that will be right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on the channel. And the first thing I'm going to do is take these silly glasses off because these are left over from the Halloween video that we recorded last week. I just got done actually editing the video last night at 1 o'clock a.m. and I was up really late working on it because I want to get it done and out by this Friday, which is Halloween. And that video will probably be out before this one. I'll probably release this video next week at some point, the first week of November. But I've been wanting to record this video very badly for the last 2 weeks or so because I have to start this video off by saying thank you to everybody who watched the first 21 Pilots reaction video that I uploaded to the channel a couple of weeks ago. It was to their brand new album from this year called Breach. And when I tell you that I was caught off guard by the positive response from everybody in the comments and the amount of people that watched the video, I think I haven't looked, I guess, in a few days, but the number of people that have watched that video, here, let me check. 2 weeks ago, I uploaded it. 14,000 people have watched that video, and maybe to a lot of channels that doesn't seem like a lot, and maybe even compared to some of the other videos I have here on my channel that doesn't seem like a lot, but to me that is a lot. We do not post videos very often that get over 3,000 views. If something gets over 3,000 views, I consider it to be massively successful. And I was caught off guard by that. I said in that video that it was my first 21 Pilots reaction. I kind of did it on a whim because I knew that their new album had come out, and I have been curious about that band forever. If you haven't seen the video, I'll leave a link to it in the description. You can go check that out. But I was very positive on the album, though my impression that the album left on me is that it was a really great album. It wasn't something that really blew me away too much. I liked the production. I loved the songwriting. The thing that was craziest to me was that they just weren't the type of band that I expected them to be, and that was in all of the right ways. They were much more serious than I thought they were going to be. I was saying in the video that I thought they were going to be kind of like a dude bro type of band. And they weren't that at all. I enjoyed every aspect of the album. I loved the production. The drums sounded fantastic across every single song, which was kind of the only thing that I had been expecting because I've heard just a couple of 21 Pilots songs over the years, and maybe I've even heard more that I didn't know was 21 Pilots. But the one thing I knew was that they had basically awesome sounding drums in everything I've heard of them, and that they were very popular. But when I uploaded that video and I started getting comments, and the comments were all fantastic comments, really positive comments, some people saying like that this was one of their favorite reactions they'd seen to the album, it just seemed like the 21 Pilots fan base was just here for it. And that does not happen to us on the channel very often. A lot of the times, when we upload videos, they'll either get so few, like a very few views, which is fine. That I don't do this channel to become rich. And I'll talk about financial stuff in a little bit here because I want everybody to know how our channel works and everything. But the other thing that happens is that we'll do a video to a band like Yes, for example. We've been going back through and doing some Yes stuff. Not these albums, but these are my Yes. This is some Yes stuff I have. I have some vinyl records. We most recently uploaded a Yes video reacting to their most famous album, 90215, from 1983, I think. 1983. This has Owner of a Lonely Heart on it. Probably a lot of people are familiar with this album and that song. Unless 21 Pilots fan base skews much younger. But in any case, we uploaded 3 Yes videos to the channel now, and we were overwhelmingly positive. I'm basically on this journey sort of trying to discover if I enjoy classic prog rock very much, because progressive music is something I've been wanting to get into a little bit more over the last decade or so. And I've found certain prog metal bands that I enjoy, certain prog bands that I enjoy, like Frost and things like that, Riverside, Big Big Train. Those are three completely different bands, all in this sort of prog music genre. And so my friend Cody, who I do reactions with on the channel, occasionally, we mainly focus on classic rock stuff because he knows a little bit more about it than I do. And anyway, when we uploaded those Yes videos, this is just an example of how videos usually work here. We were overwhelmingly positive on how the album sounded. We liked the songs. We had a lot of criticisms for it because I come at things from a production standpoint generally, and there's a lot of things to criticize on some of that older stuff from the 70s and from the 80s, you know? And so you have to obviously take things into consideration when you're critiquing it. But anyway, even though we were overwhelmingly positive on those reactions, the comments were just very mean to us. And that happens more often than not when we upload reactions, because when I upload a reaction, when I sit here and listen to music with you, you are getting me, my authentic self. This is exactly who I am. If we met in person, I would be the person that I present myself as here. I do not put a face on. I am not fake in really any way at all. And this is how I talk in real life. I just want to sit and have a conversation and react to music because I love music so much. But when I'm being honest about, when we listen to a 21 Pilots album that I think sounds bad, that is probably all I will talk about. I will record a 2-hour video talking about how terrible the album sounds like. But I'm honest, and I come at things from my own personal perspective and my own personal opinion, but I also try to be objective about things as well. And so a lot of the videos here on the channel, we get this sort of like back and forth between like kind of being a bad guy, being a good guy, liking things, but still getting really mean comments, which we laugh at. The comments don't bother me, but you know, it's just part of this, but we're still a very small channel. We have a lot of videos here on the channel that have 50,000 plus views, and those are generally our Metallica videos. And that's how we've been growing the channel. 3 years ago, we started doing or 2 years ago, in 2023, I think we started doing some Metallica videos, and those really caught on. And each of those videos has like 50,000+ views on them. And we've gathered a little fan base, or a little, I don't want to say fan base, it's not fans of us, but a Metallica fan base. And then just people who enjoy the channel on our Discord. So I want to shout that out. Everyone should go check out our Discord. But we've gathered this group of people on our Discord that are really great. We're still very small. And we have some videos that maybe hit it pretty big. I know millions of views is like what people aim for, but for us, tens of thousands of views is fantastic. And so basically what I'm trying to say is the overwhelmingly positive response to the Breach reaction that I just did myself here on the channel was shocking to me. And actually at points I was reading the comments and I was like getting emotional because I was like, this is what I wish the internet would be. And I fully understand that when I'm being critical of a band that someone loves, you want to be defensive about it. I get that way too about stuff when I'm trying to show some of the other people here on the channel a reaction to an album that I love or something, and they're talking bad about it, like I get defensive as well. So like I get it, and I'm not saying anyone is overly mean or anything like that, but it's just kind of, you know, grating after a while, and it gets tiresome. And the overwhelmingly positive response to the 21 Pilots reaction, immediately I was just like, we're going to do like every 21 Pilots album that I can find because you guys were so great. And so if these videos keep getting views and getting positive comments, I'm not going to promise right now that I'll go through every single 21 Pilots album, but if these videos keep going the way that first one did, I am in for the long haul on this, and I want to try to do as much as I can. Now, with that in mind, I have to tell everybody that we do not move very fast here on the channel. It's my channel, and I'm the person who edits all the videos, makes all the stupid thumbnails, which is just horrid to do, finds all the timestamps, which is the most awful part of it. And I know I've heard people complain about stuff in the past, and I'm like always like, yo, whatever. But now that I have been running my own channel now for several years doing reactions, thumbnails and timestamps are so arduous to create for every video. So it's just me. And then I have 3 other people on the channel here who are my friends, who I invite on to do reactions with me. We have 2 Chris's and a Cody. And each one of those people has their own sort of different role here on the channel. We can all be in videos together, though it's hard for us technological wise. It's difficult for us to have all 4 of us together. My computer doesn't want to handle that whole load my CPU is not good enough, I guess, or something with doing all the signals. But sometimes we'll do reactions with 3 people. Sometimes it'll just be me and another person. If it's a really important special reaction, I try to always have someone else here with me so that I can sort of balance my opinions with somebody else. And like I said, everyone has their own things. Chris Schoenberg is an old school metalhead. Chris Parker likes a lot of the same music that I do, but we like it for a lot of different reasons. And we both like to talk production, and we have different experiences in the audio industry. And then my cousin Cody, who I do most of the classic album reactions with, and then certain other things we've been going through Blur's discography very slowly. We did Gorillaz recently with all 4 of us, but Cody and I do more classic stuff, and he doesn't really have any sort of audio engineering training whatsoever. The other 3 of us do, and so he's kind of just like the normie guy here, but who is more knowledgeable about a lot of stuff than I am when it comes to certain bands that I just missed as I was growing up, discovering music basically on my own. So I just want to thank everybody for how awesome that was, and I also want to say, one of the reasons I think that 21 Pilots video was doing good was because I got to the music right away. But a lot of the time here on the channel, we spend quite a while talking at the beginning of the video about the album itself, what our opinions are of the band beforehand, what we know and stuff. And I did that a little bit, but on that day in that particular batch of like 4 or 5 reactions that I recorded that week or those 2 weeks that I recorded the reaction, I was really trying as hard as I could to get into the music as fast as possible. In this video, I want to beg you guys' I want to beg your forgiveness because I want to take a little bit of time to explain a few things at the beginning of the channel, or the beginning of the video here, about the channel and just me personally, because I was so overwhelmed by the positive response, as I keep saying, that I think I want you guys to understand a little bit more about where I'm coming from, because we had a lot of great comments about amazing things. There were even people who noticed the background of my video and some of the things that I have here, like my Troy and Abed in the Morning Cup, and Godzilla, and my Sweet Tooth, and The Witcher, and the Harry Potter English first edition, British copies. Like, there were people who were looking in the video in the background and noticing things, and like, we all just want to be noticed at the end of the day, right? And you guys were there for me in ways that I don't normally get comments for. So I just want to explain a few things at the beginning of the video before we get to music. And as I see at my timestamp, I may cut out some of this stuff I've been rambling about, but we're already 15 minutes in, so I apologize for that. But I want to just explain a few things because people who are watching this video might be new to the channel. And I know you're probably here for 21 Pilots and you're here for my reaction to that. So please feel free to skip to any other section of the video. Do not ever feel obligated to watch any part of our videos here on the channel. So just a little bit about me personally. My name is Patrick Musilek, and I am 39 years old. I just had my birthday last week. I celebrated it on Tuesday, the 21st, and I turned 39 years old. And I know I'm an old guy. I don't know how the fan base for 21 Pilots skews, but I'm a young guy when we listen to Metallica and Yes and things like that. But 21 Pilots is a newer band, so they might have younger fans. But obviously music is sort of like universal and ageless, timeless, but good music at least. But so I'm 39, and it was a very special and important birthday for me this year because if you weren't aware, which I didn't mention it in the previous video at all, but in January of 2024, last year, I was diagnosed with ALL, which is a form of leukemia. And if you go back on the channel and you watch any of the videos that I uploaded from basically June 2023 all the way through till January of 2024, I have to apologize in every single video because I was so sick. And I just was so sick for so long. 2023 was a terrible year for me. I was very sick in a lot of different ways. I got COVID multiple times, very close together. I had a lot of issues. And I'm not going to go into all that. I have videos on the channel here where you can watch my entire history. I have a cancer playlist of just the videos that I upload that deal with my cancer situation, my journey, and all of that. And Now, because it's October, I've been trying, in the United States at least, we have Cancer Awareness Month. And so in every video I've been recording this month, I'm trying to add a little bit of a sort of like a PSA, but a personal one about if you have never thought about becoming a donor for or being put on the transplant donor list, I highly encourage everyone to do that. With my specific type of leukemia, I went through an entire year, well, about 10 months from January to October of last year. Because I was under 40 years old, I was treated basically like a pediatric cancer patient. And so I was treated with the most intense cancer regimen of chemotherapy, radiation stuff eventually, all sorts of stuff. I was given the most intense treatment that they give a person for leukemia. And it was a lot. It was a lot to go through. And I kept making videos the entire time. You can watch any video from last year and see how my weight fluctuates, how my face gets really fat from all the steroids that I was taking, how my hair fell out everywhere, and the entire situation. And in October of last year, I found out that everything we didn't work. It knocked the cancer down to the most minuscule amount possible, but we did a check and it was starting to come back. And so at that point, it was announced that I had to have a bone marrow transplant. So on April 4th of this year, 2025, I had a bone marrow transplant. And so I want to encourage everybody who's never thought about cancer at all. First of all, if you've never thought about cancer at all, I really hadn't before I got it. And then, boy, it's basically been the only thing I've thought about the last year and a half, but almost 2 years now, I guess. But the process for the type of transplant that I had for the donor was very minimally invasive. The person just had to sit down and they basically just took blood. It's basically a blood draw. It's not much different than donating blood, which, by the way, was given blood multiple times throughout this last year and a half. I was given platelets many, many times. And those are just two things you can donate at any blood bank or school when they're having an event, or church, or wherever. So I highly encourage people, if you don't want to become a donor or on the donor registry list or do anything more, at least consider donating blood or donating plasma and donating platelets, because those are very important things. And I received a lot of that stuff. And it helped me continue to fight as I had to fight my battle against the cancer. But if you want to be, sorry, I don't want to talk about this for too long, but if you want to consider being put on the donor registry list, it's not just young, able-bodied people that they're looking for. They're looking for people of all ages, of whether you're male or female or whatever, any type of a person, no matter what size you are, no matter what age you are, because the person who needs the transplant, they try to find someone that is of similar body size, that is a relatively healthy person to collect the transplant from, which the transplant is just blood, basically. It's for the type of thing that I had. It was very simple. Again, it was not a big deal at all. It's not like giving someone a heart or a lung or something. It's very simple, and you can just sign up. And then if you are the person who is a 10 out of 10 match for someone, you get contacted, and then it's like 1-2 days maybe max out of your life, and you could literally save a person's life doing that. If you want to learn more about this, check out, you can go, if you're in the United States or wherever, you can go to cancer.gov, and that leads you to the National Cancer Institute, the National Cancer Research Institute, something like that. But you can also go to wherever you live, wherever in the world you are, find the nearest bigger hospital to you and go on their website, and I guarantee they will have information and links that you can follow to find out more about the process. I don't want to talk about it for too long, but this has been a huge thing in my life for the last year and a half. And just yesterday, I had my doctor's appointment where we got the results back from my 6-month post-transplant bone marrow biopsy that I had, where they stick like a 5-inch needle in your spine and collect spinal fluid. They have to drill in and all this stuff, and they have to drill into your spine or into your bone, and they take bone marrow sample. It doesn't matter. I've had many things done to me over the last year and a half. It's all old hat now. But But just yesterday, we were talking to my doctor, and he said the results came back clean still. So the transplant definitely worked. As of right now, I have no cancer in me. And in the leukemia world, they don't really talk about remission. When the point of a transplant is to get cancer out completely. But basically, the transplant worked, and I have no cancer in me whatsoever at all anymore. And it's just a matter of maintaining, dealing with the effects of the radiation and all of the crazy chemotherapy and treatment that they had to force. They had to take my body basically and force my body into submission and take my immune system completely down to absolute zero so that then they could replace my immune system and my blood with somebody else's. And that is basically what the process was. And for me, it wasn't the greatest, but again, for the donor, it was super easy. So I just want to encourage everybody to think about that kind of stuff as we're here in October. And again, that is something that was a big part of my life. So thank you for indulging me and allowing me to speak about that for a little while. I also want to just say for me personally, as I said, I'm 39 years old. In 2007, I graduated from a wonderful community college in Nebraska, where I live and have lived my entire life. And I have a degree in audio engineering. One of the guys that was in my class that is still one of my best friends that I graduated with and also has a degree in audio engineering and also some kind of music as well. Music, I don't know if it's music performance or what it is, but he had a music degree and an audio engineering degree. Is Chris Schoenberg. He's one of the other guys on the channel here. And then Chris Parker I met a few years ago when I was working at a recording studio in Omaha, Nebraska. I worked there for 7 years. I only got paid for 3 years and then worked there for 4 years, continued to run through all my savings and everything that I had earned in my life up to that point, while still working at the wonderful, amazing studio that I had with just one other guy, an older man named Cleet Baker, who I was like he was like a father figure to me, and I still think about him like every single day. He was an older guy who worked on a Mannheim Steamroller and a lot of John Denver. He worked with America, lots of things like that. And I didn't get to work on any amazing projects, but everything we did was amazing. And it was very awesome. I didn't work on anything that anyone would know, unless you're a fan of the Omaha Symphony or the Creighton College Choir. I worked on a lot of that stuff, recording symphonies and the orchestra when they perform at the Holland Performing Arts Center in Omaha, and Concordia College Choir, all sorts of things like that. I worked on a lot of that, did some audiobooks, worked on my own music, worked on other people's bands' music, worked on some metal stuff, worked on really lots of stuff. Blind Romanian Gypsy Guys album, that was amazing. Worked on all sorts of different things and got lots of experience there and got to learn under a man who was amazing. But the studio was not profitable and I could not get paid for so long. And so I basically worked through my entire funds and everything I had saved up and then had to move back home to the farm where I'm currently living right now with my folks. And it's a miracle that I did that because after I was diagnosed with cancer, I needed them and the ability to have some place to stay without having to worry about financial stuff. And that they've been really great. My mother's been with me at like almost every single appointment, and she stayed with me in the hospital. I had to have someone stay with me in the hospital after the transplant for 100 days. I lived in the hospital in a hotel that was attached to the hospital. So I stayed at the hospital for 100 days total. And she was there with me the entire time. So my mother's very important to me. My father's very important to me as well. But he is a busy farmer. We have a small farm with a small herd of cattle, and we do corn and soybeans. And that is kind of my life wrapped in a nutshell here as I'm sort of recovering from cancer. And personally, I'm a big nerd. I love video games. I love movies. I love music, obviously. I have a CD collection that is over 4,500 CDs. It's a lot, and I keep them all over the house. And I have many CDs that are worth a lot, and many, many, many CDs that are basically worth a nickel. And I collect CDs. I have lots of vinyl as well, mostly older vinyl that I find around at places. But I have a couple crates of really awesome new stuff that I've searched for and found over the years. I have I like anime. I like I said, video games. My top 4 favorite video games are number 1, Red Dead Redemption 2, number 2, The Witcher 3, number 3 is Horizon Forbidden West. Love that game. And then number 4 would be Red Dead Redemption 1, and then I think Shadow of the Colossus after that. But I really enjoyed Alan Wake 1, and I also really enjoyed both Plague Tale games. Those are fantastic. I played those just over the last couple of years. But I love open world third-person action adventure games. I played all the Assassin's Creed games. I love Grand Theft Auto. I can't wait for Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out next year. I love a PlayStation. I've always been a PlayStation guy, so I love the Uncharted games. I love God of War. I love Horizon. I love their Last of Us. I love their franchises. I've only ever had a PlayStation. I cannot play first-person games. It makes me motion sick. So I've never played the only 2 first-person games I've ever played. One was called Gone Home, and I thought it was okay. And the other one was a masterpiece game called The Witness. That is a maze puzzle game. If you've never heard it and you're a gamer and you've never heard of that, please look up The Witness. I believe it's a PlayStation exclusive, but such a perfect game. I love books. Harry Potter was a huge part of my childhood and even into my adult life. I have been editing a Harry Potter podcast called Alohomora that is on the MuggleNet Harry Potter's #1 fan site in the world, MuggleNet. I've been working for the Alohomora podcast as an editor, an audio editor for their podcast for 13 years this April, and we're actually going to be ending the podcast. I also work as an editor for the Harry Potter podcast, The Three Broomsticks, and so I have my fingers and hands dipped into the Harry Potter world since Harry Potter was a thing. I started reading the books right after the 3rd one had just come out, way before the 4th one came out. And so I've been there for the entire journey of that. So if anybody watching this is a Harry Potter fan, I was there. I've lived it all. There's nothing you could tell me about Harry Potter that I don't know. And I'm not even a huge fan of it anymore. There's a lot of goofy stuff that's gone on over the last few years in the Harry Potter fandom, but it's tough to pull yourself out of a universe like that when you've been in it for so long. And I'm excited that we're going to be ending the podcast, Alohomora, here in April of this next year. So I've been doing that. Harry Potter is very important to me. My favorite author is Joe Abercrombie, who writes sort of grim, dark fantasy fiction stuff. I love the First World trilogy and then the following trilogy set in that world. And I haven't read the Age of Madness trilogy yet, but something I'm looking forward to. My favorite book series is the Russian book series by Sergei Lukyanenkov called the Night Watch series. There's 2 movies based on it, which you may have seen, Night Watch and Day Watch. Fantastic. Movies are okay, but the books are literally fantastic. My favorite single book of all time is a nonfiction book by Eric Larson called The Devil in the White City, because I am obsessed with the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, and I love everything having to do with that. I have several things from the fair that I've collected over the years that I'm very proud about. Speaking of that, I love antique things. I love old things like that. I love things like this 1928 speaker I have right here. And here's a hat. Here's a hat that I bought because I thought it looked like the Undertaker's hat, and I thought maybe I would be the Undertaker for Halloween this year. I've been a big WWE fan since I was 6 years old. So if you are a WWE fan, so if you're a fan of professional wrestling at all, I've been a fan of professional wrestling, WCW, WWE, AEW now, I guess a little bit. For the last basically 40 years, I know everything that's happened in wrestling. And only very recently have I kind of stopped. I didn't watch it the entire time. I was kind of on and off, but big wrestling fan. So, movies, I love all sorts of stuff. But Mad Max Fury Road, the movie The Fall, not the one with the 2 girls who climb up the pole or whatever. That's not that movie. The other one. Bone Tomahawk, I'm trying to look at my shelf over there. Battle Royale. I love Japanese movies. I think I already said I liked anime. I like slice of life anime. Some romance stuff thrown in there too. It's really nice. In this video, I'm drinking something that's strange. So I have this big pink chunk here. This is Tampico. I love Tampico juice. Buy it at Walmart or whatever in the jug for like $1.89 or whatever. This is the fruit punch flavored Tampico juice, and I left about this much in my glass to have a big chunk of ice for the video. And then this purplish drink here is a little bit of blue Kool-Aid mixed with a little bit of red Kool-Aid that was in the bottom of the thing when I made new Kool-Aid. So maybe not the healthiest drink in the world, but better than soda, which is what I often drink during the videos here. But since the transplant, I'm trying to maintain my weight and not gain all my weight back. So, okay, those are all the super unimportant things about me. Musically, I hate fade outs. I think I mentioned this in the last video. I have a fade outs board here that we have and joke about on the channel here. I don't know where my chalk is, and I've been missing it for basically like 2 months. But I hate fade outs. I don't like bad production. I don't enjoy swear words in music that much. But it doesn't ruin a song for me. And I was very happy and pleasant to find out that 21 Pilots did not do any swearing on their previous album. So, okay, that's enough about me. I apologize. I talked for a long time. We're 30 minutes into the video already. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to talk even more. I'm going to pull up my Spotify so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at here. We are going to just search for 21 Pilots. I have not decided yet, as of my sitting down right now, which album to listen to. I've gotten a lot of comments on the previous video about which album to do next. My friend Chris, who I mentioned does reactions with me on the channel here, he said Blurry Face is their biggest album and one of, I don't know if it's his biggest album, but he's not a huge fan of them, but that is the album that he is familiar with the most. So I may ask him to do a reaction to that album with me. A lot of people mentioned Clancy, Trench, and Vessel as albums to look into. People have said, go back to the beginning and start from the beginning and work your way up. I have been thinking personally, maybe I would enjoy working backwards through their catalog. And a couple of people mentioned that as well. I also have their wiki page pulled up here. So I'm going to pull up their wiki page and I'm going to just like look at their discography. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 albums. And people were talking about Breach being a like sort of the ending of a big chapter, part of their like storyline that they've kept going through multiple albums. That's all really great. That's cool. I did mention that like lyrics aren't like a huge big thing to me, and a lot of people were saying you should look into the lyrics and the way they connect from song to song and from album to album specifically is really cool. I love that idea, and I will probably look into that a little bit more. However, since I'm not a lyric guy and I'm a production guy first, for reactions, I tend to focus on production stuff and what I'm hearing. And it's not even necessarily like, oh, this is good production or bad production. I like to listen to individual elements that are occurring in the song and try to think about in real time, it all happens real fast, why did they choose the sounds they chose? What am I actually hearing? What effects were put on those things to make them sound good? Or do I not like the way it sounds? You know, things like that. So it looks like their first album came out in 2009, 21 Pilots. Let's go look at that. I'm just going to scroll all the way down their discography here. So 21 Pilots came out in 2009. 14 tracks. It doesn't say the length there. I'll have to click on the album. Second album, Vessel, and I've seen that album cover before. I did work at a while I was working at the recording studio, and for 2 full years before that, and then for 5 years while I was working at the recording studio, I was working at a record store as well in Fremont, Nebraska, called Hastings Entertainment. Shout out Hastings Entertainment. If anybody's watching this knows that store and that chain, it's gone now, but it was the most amazing place ever to work. And I absolutely adored it there. I miss it every single day. I will never have a job as awesome as working at, obviously, the recording studio and then working at Hastings Entertainment. But I got to know a lot about music there, working at that store. So it looks like there's also a Vessel with commentary track, which is interesting. So you can listen to a song and then listen to the commentary on it. I probably won't do that. Maybe after I, start going through this stuff a little bit more in depth, I could do that, but I don't know for a reaction if that's right. I'm not a live music guy, so I'm not planning right now on listening to anything of theirs live. There were people who were saying you should check out some of their live stuff. As of right now, I want to just focus on their studio albums. So then it looks like Blurry Face is from 2015. So interesting. So where's their... Okay, so what's Regional at Best? Where is that? Because I didn't see that one on Spotify. 21 Pilots, and then Vessel. Did they release it later as like a Clancy Breach? Interesting. So what is Regional at Best? It's second studio album. I've never seen that cover before. is the first of the core duo of Tyler, Joseph, and Josh Dunn. Sorry. It was self-released. So it looks like their first two, critics compared it to their first album. And felt that it set a new basis for style and tone. Okay, so it sounds to me like their first album is quite different. And I think I had some comments saying that. And then just reading this little bit here that I just read, it sounds like maybe Regional at Best is their, it's an hour and 3 minutes long. That's great. Is their sort of beginning of their sound that they would continue with. So that's interesting that that's not on Spotify. Very interesting. So on Spotify, we have 21 Pilots. Then it goes right to Vessel. And then I believe all the rest of their albums were there. So Vessel is the one, I think you guys can see what I'm looking at. Yeah. Vessel is, not the wiki though, but Vessel is the album that I recognize the cover of. And I may know maybe one or two of these songs, but looking at it, it looks like their biggest song by the Plays is Car Radio. I have no idea what that is. I might know it if I heard it, but I don't know. We'll wait until we get to that album whenever we do. Then we have Blurry Face from 2015. And I'm sure I've heard some of these songs. Oh man, Stressed Out and Ride have 2 billion plays. Stressed Out has almost 3 billion plays. That's crazy. A lot of the artists we listen to here, and a lot of my favorite artists have like maybe at most 75,000 plays on certain things. Maybe a couple million, but not ever a billion. Although I do enjoy, like I've said in the last video, I enjoy One Republic, Imagine Dragons, stuff like that. I do like AWOL Nation. So I do like some artists that I like artists that are popular, and I like some that, well, a lot of them that aren't. But 21 Pilots is sort of in that upper echelon of popularity of things that I don't listen to that often and don't do many reactions to here on the channel. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So Blurry Face is definitely, I mean, we will get to that whenever, probably not today. A lot of people mentioned Trench as an album that they thought I would maybe like based on what I was saying. They have Chlorine has 622 million. That looks like that's the biggest song off this album. I don't know. Then Jumpsuit as well. I don't know. Scaled and Icy, which I think is like one of the most badass album covers I've ever seen. I think it's so cool. They have a song called Shy Away, Saturday. Each of those is over 100 million. This album doesn't look like it has as many plays. Everything is like less than 100 million, which just sounds crazy to say. Live stream, MT Unplugged. I don't care about their live stuff right now. Clancy, their album from last year. Are we missing another one in there? Trench. Yeah, we saw that one. Blurry Face. Okay, so they're all there. So Clancy is their last album. Looks like Overcompensate's the big song from there. And Breach, everything in the amount of plays is still pretty small, but obviously in the millions. So that'll grow. So I honestly, as I sit here, I don't know what I want to do. I was thinking about it obviously a little bit before this, and I was thinking that there would be two things we could do. Either we work backwards through their catalog, or we go from their last album, their most recent album, to their very first album, and then work our way forward. And so I am honestly not sure what to do. I know there are a lot of people who would maybe prefer that I go back to the very beginning, but I also know there's probably a lot of 21 Pilots fans who maybe don't even care for their earlier stuff, and that's just a generalization that I've seen over the years with everybody who likes any kind of a band. Either you love their early stuff and hate their later stuff, or you've discovered them halfway through kind of along the way. Maybe you went back and appreciate their earlier stuff, but you enjoy, everybody enjoys the album that they kind of discovered a band the most. That's not always the case, and it's usually not the case with me, but the idea of working backwards through their catalog is appealing to me. I would expect the albums to get better sounding as they went through their catalog. Maybe not necessarily the case. And with a band like this that got popular after their third album or whatever, it is concerning to me that their second album is not on Spotify here. I don't see it. Right? I mean, I'm not. We have 21 Pilots. We have Vessel. We have Blurry Face. We have Trench. We have Scaled and Icy. We have Clancy. And there's probably a lot of you sitting there right now going, please do it from the beginning to the end, or do it from the end to the beginning. I think their more recent albums would probably get more views, but I don't care about that. I am leaning towards going... When I kind of sat down to do this, I was thinking in my head that I would work backwards through their catalog, but now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, start from the beginning. Now, when we would get to regional at best, I could find another way to listen to that. That's not the issue. I'm wondering if there would be problems with copyright. Since the way the channel works here, I was going to mention this earlier, we don't get any ad revenue or funding from our urban funding, whatever. We don't get it. We don't make any money on our videos. Almost every video I post on the channel here, any video that has music in it whatsoever, the artist whose music is in the video, all ad revenue goes to that person. And we don't get a lot of views on stuff. It's not a big deal. But like, for example, we have probably made Metallica thousands of dollars because we've gotten no cent of that, not a cent, because we use full songs, full albums. And that's one of the things that makes our channel unique. And that's one of the things, that's what I love about our channel. I love albums, full albums. I really don't have much use for a single. Occasionally we'll react to a single here to just kind of set up something, for an album, or to like maybe gauge interest in a band or something like that. But I loved sticking to albums. That's my big thing. And here on the channel, since 2010, I have been making my personal top 12 albums of the year list every year. I have a lot of the lists here on the channel, and it's something I put a lot of effort into every year. Whether I was doing it for an old podcast I was on called Music Room that I did with Chris Parker, or here on the channel, which I have lots of videos here on the channel from the subsequent years after the podcast ended, and even some before that I did my top 12s. I put a lot of effort into that, and so I listen to full albums all the time, constantly. However, on the channel here, like I said, we don't get any of the ad revenue. Whatever, that's fine. I'm going to start a Patreon sometime soon, but don't ever feel obligated to join it. It'll just be a way to support the channel. It has nothing to do with you guys or more people coming here for 21 Pilots. So don't think I'm taking advantage of you guys. I've been thinking about starting a Patreon now for over a year, and I actually created the Patreon last year before I went into the hospital, or earlier this year before I went to the hospital. I just haven't set it up or anything yet. But sometimes we have copyright issues here on the channel where I'll upload a video, and for whatever reason, that artist or whoever is the copyright owner for that music has it set that no one can use that music in any video whatsoever. And in that case, the video gets blocked worldwide. And then I have to re-upload the video with no music in it whatsoever. And that is a huge bummer. So regional at best, not being on Spotify, there's a reason for that, and that's very weird. I think I am leaning towards starting from the beginning. Starting from their very first album, and then we'll figure out what's going to happen with the next one, and people will just kind of have to deal with it, and then move on. And then maybe we'll see how long it takes. I guess I don't want to say, but I was going to say maybe like February, March of next year, we'll have done all of them. It's kind of what I'm thinking. I could do it much faster if I wanted to just focus on 21 Pilots, but I don't like to focus on just one thing here on the channel. and we're going to put a lot of effort in December into our list. So that'll be basically a whole month work put into that. That's what we're going to do. Okay, everybody, we are listening to the first 21 Pilots album, their self-titled debut album. Now, I'm going to spend a few minutes here reading the wiki page of this. It doesn't look super long. So I'll probably cut this part out of the video, but I'm just going to sit here and read this. Okay, hold on. Sorry. I just read the first sentence. Second sentence. It is the band's only album to feature founding members Nick Thomas and Chris Salih, who both departed the group in 2011 after this. So what the heck? Maybe they had beef with... Okay, I got to read more. Okay, so now I'm got to the personnel section here, and it says Tyler Joseph, vocals, keyboards, programming, production, all tracks. Shout out to the dude for doing the production. Nick Thomas, bass, guitar, backing vocals, programming, and arrangement, all tracks. And I believe those are the two guys that everybody knows from the band. Then Chris Salih, electronic drums, backing vocals, recording, engineering, and arrangement. And then John Restott, album art. So who is the fourth person? Okay, so it sounds like Tyler Joseph is the only guy still in the band now, and then after this album, or maybe after the second one, the other guy joined. We'll learn more about that when we try to do the second album. So this is Tyler Joseph, Nick Thomas, Chris Salih. Sorry, I can't. The H at the end of it is throwing me off. Salih and John Restott as album artwork. So that's just the album artwork. So Chris, Nick, and Tyler. So it sounds like Tyler Joseph at this time was kind of the guy kind of leading everything, and he was kind of the head of it. And then the other two guys must have left, and then the other guy came in, and they're the two that are... Man, the album was recorded in a basement studio due to the low budget for making the album. Instead of recording real instruments, most of the drum beats were programmed with computer software. A lot of albums have programmed drums, so doesn't worry me at all. I would be more worried about the fact that this is their first album, so they obviously don't know what they're doing as much. So I'm expecting this album to sound a lot worse than Breach. I still think it'll probably sound pretty good. I have high hopes. We'll see. This probably will be my least favorite one. We'll see. I don't know. We'll have to see. I do enjoy programmed drums. That's how I make my music, with programmed drums. Probably way worse sounding than what these guys even were doing when they were in college at Ohio State University or whatever. Yeah, so I apologize. We're an hour into the recording. I may have to cut some stuff that I've been talking about, but thank you, everybody, for sticking with me for whatever I include in this. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for being patient. So let's just get into this, okay? I made the decision. We've made the decision. We're going to live with it. If you don't like this album, this is not your favorite one, we'll get to it, I promise. Unless this video gets no views. Then maybe I'll stop. But even still, I don't care. I'm curious enough about this band. I want to hear Trench. I want to hear these albums. I'm just curious now. So, 21 Pilots. Self-titled debut album. I'm going to start playing the album, and I'm going to let it play all the way through from front to back. I usually do that when I'm doing a reaction myself, because that way, if I have to take the music out of the video, you watching with me, you can hit play on your own device, on your phone, your computer, wherever you happen to be watching this. Hopefully it's not too hard for you to do. I know it's kind of annoying. You can hit play at the same time, and then we can just let it ride, and you can listen to me talking like commentary over your favorite album, or over this album, whatever. Every song has multiple million plays. Let's get into this. Implicit demand for proof. We're going from the very most recent 2025 21 Pilots album all the way back to the beginning of their career in 2009. This is the first song they released on their first album. Implicit Demands for Proof. Track 1 in 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm really sorry that intro was so long, everybody. You guys just got me so excited I had to talk. We got one comment about my nose whistle being so loud and annoying someone had to leave. I'm sorry about that. That's one of the things this helps with. Shout out to Vic's Vapor. Cool. Inhaler. Okay, I'm gonna turn it up a little. It looks like there are lyrics available, so I will have the lyrics pulled up. Actually, no, I'm not. I want to focus on what we're hearing. Starting the album out with a minute of just piano and then some sweet strings in the background, like synth stuff. Really nice. Very daring. That could have been an intro track. Very MIDI sounding strings. Love it. Turn it up again. Okay, wow. The piano sounds very...
I know you're not a liar, and I know you could set
This is My Chemical Romance.
Go ahead and make me look away. Strike me.
This is like cabaret music. So the drums, they are going for real drum sound. Just using programmed drums. A bold choice. What is that like? Listen to them, that wash of cymbals, man. His voice is very... Yeah, it's My Chemical Romance-y. It's something else it's reminding me of, too. Very dynamic. Right? He's so small in the mix there. The drums sound great. I mean, that kick sounds pretty real. It's not super consistent. I mean, it's consistent sound. But... wow. I mean, this is a whole different stratosphere of like production and understanding and know-how. Don't worry, anybody watching who's like, oh, he's gonna hate him now because this is like amateur-y, so different. No, that's not how I'm gonna look at this at all. I'm excited that we're starting from the beginning, and then we have so many wonderful, hopefully, places to go. Also, I want to say Happy Halloween to everybody. This video might come out after Halloween, but I don't care. Oh, I'm gonna hide Spotify now. You guys don't need to see the song playing, I don't think. You don't need to see Spotify, so. Okay, more piano.
I don't wanna fall away. I don't wanna fall away. I'll keep the lights on in this place, 'cause I don't wanna fall away.
There we go.
I don't wanna fall away.
It's really hard to program realistic sounding drums unless you have really good programs to do it and a humanized button. So like a lot of the times the best way to approach it is to just
take my precious time as the days melt away as I stand in line and I die as I wait on my crime and I'll try to delay what you make of my life.
Very simple arrangement. It's no bass right now, just piano, drums. I've wondered how bands like this start, you know? Like, what did they perform? You know, they had a bass player and all this stuff, but like, it's basically just one person for the most part, writing everything, composing the songs, making them basically the way I would make music too. By the way, when I talk about my music, it's all terrible, awful garbage. Selfish ambition is taking my vision, my crime is my sentence, repentance is taking commission, it's taking a toll on my soul, I'm screaming submission, and I don't know one take, just going for it. To obtain a new name in a newer place, but my name is lame, I can't walk and I ain't the same, and my name became new destiny to the grave, and I very theatrical. I like that, those stabs and then the delay off to the side, kind of. Ooh. I like that distortion in his voice there. Pushing it. This is really fun for me to listen to because I'm thinking of it from the perspective of me making this. Because the software and everything I have that makes music is from around this time. So I can picture in my head how the session looked, you know, and they're probably doing it completely different than I would, but the arrangement is very simple. You hear the space that they're creating digitally with post-processing, reverbs, and everything is a completely dry signal. There's no room tone in anything. Because it's harder to add those types of things. It takes experience and good equipment and stuff to do that. Low passed synth in there. Okay, interesting. Now we're on to track 3, the Pantaloon. Whoa.
Your grandpa died when you were 9. They said he had lost his mind. You have learned way too soon.
Interesting. There's like an 80s feel to this because it's so dry. Right? There's like a simplicity to this as well. It's kind of happy sounding because it is happy sounding, but the song is minor. I think. I think the drums sound pretty realistic, actually. I mean, it's hard to do two snare hits should sound basically identical if you're just using the same sample, but they must have some sort of a program that had where you could hit the drum and like digitally hit the drum in different places. Real bass. That double hit on the snare is interesting. I like that. Many stare downs between the sun and the moon in the morning air. How he used to hustle all the people walking through the fairgrounds. There's no vocal overdubs. Because a chair now is like a tiny island in the sea of all the people who glide across the very surface that made his bones feeble. There's like a quaintness to this that is really. I hate to say that it's cute, but it kind of is. And again, I don't know any of their music between this and their most recent album, so like... Vocal overdubs here.
bones. It's warmer in the morning than what it is at night. Your bones are held together by your nightmares and your frights. You are tired, you are hurt.
He has a very particular way of enunciating and singing what he's doing. Like, he has a very accented way of singing. He's really sliding. Not a lot of structure to the songs too much. Interesting. I love the percussive sounds there and the reverb on them, the room tone being created. I love the piano. I mean, that's great.
Hello, we haven't talked in quite some time. I know I haven't
I wonder how they feel about this album. Do they play songs from this album live? Have they given interviews and talked about their feelings about this album? I think a lot of the times bands can maybe feel a little weird about their earlier work. Let's open the lyrics for this one.
I haven't found a drop. I haven't found a drop of water.
Water. Right? Ooh. Ooh, water, water. Roger Miller. Ooh, yeah. A little distortion, getting more compression in there. I would associate this more with what I would have expect them to sound like. A lot of nice high crispy frequencies on this album.
It's all that I have and it's all that I need, and the waves of the water mean nothing to me, but I try my best and all that I can to hold tightly onto what's left in my hand. But no matter how tightly I will strain, the sand will slow me down and the water will drain. I'm just being dramatic. In fact, I'm only at it again as an addict with a pen who's addicted to the wind.
Addict dead.
Spineless and pretend. Of course I'll be here again. See you tomorrow, but it's the end of today, end of my ways. As a walking denial, my trial was filed as a crazy suicidal head case. But you specialize in dying. You hear me screaming, Father, and I'm lying here just crying. So wash me with your water.
Interesting. Is this song about being baptized? If it is, that's really great. Water, water, water. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, look up Roger Miller's song Water. I love that little, like, squirmy synth thing in the middle. That, like, it's like, it almost sounds wet. Which, I mean, the whole song's about water, so if that was intentional, that's awesome. I think the drums sound awesome. His vocals are very, or not the vocals, his singing is very, like, emo in this. It is very different. but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Now I'm really curious about their next album. We'll get there. That was a great. I like this song a lot. This is probably my favorite one that I've heard so far. Fall Away was good too, though. I didn't care for that first track that much, but I love the fact that they would start the album with just piano for a minute. That is pretty awesome, and that's taking a chance. I mean, this song is, they're doing a lot of things that are pretty, they're taking risks. Like, these songs are longer. That's awesome. I really like that aspect of it. I don't even know what's coming, you know? Okay, this is track 5, Friend Please. One thing I did want to say before we get too deep into the song here is, a lot of the times with bands' first albums, you maybe get some of the best messages and sometimes songwriting because it's the music that they've had inside of them the whole time leading up to them releasing their first album, right? That's the culmination of everything they felt and had in them up to that point. And then once they release their first album, a lot of their second albums are about the experience of releasing their first album and touring, right? And then after that, it's just who knows what they want to write about, but their first album always seems to be kind of the most pure. Let me know what you guys think about that. Love that synth in the back. Low passed, which means it's just letting lower frequencies through it and it's cutting off high frequencies up to a certain point. Shaker off to the right too. Gone now. Wow. Now the high pass is off of that synth sound. Man, this is very epic feeling. This is kind of progressive, actually, proggy. Very interesting. This is not a dig on the album, but like, I almost feel like you can kind of feel what they were trying to go for, and maybe they just couldn't do it. There's the crazy washy cymbals again. How do you fake that? Like, how do you program cymbals like that? Unless you compress the snot out of them, I guess. Sounds like real cymbals to me. His ahs in the background there, so the harmony part there. And there's one lead vocal in the middle. The ahs are just the same volume as his lead vocal, though. That's an interesting choice. Could be back further with the lead vocal up a little more prominent. Oh, totally different sound. Very theatrical. You know, very theatrical, very Broadway kind of show tuney, which I hate. Show tunes, I hate. If you have to sing with a smile on your face, if you have to act while you're singing. Blech. Nice lo-fi part. This is nice. Very cabaret-y, like I said. I guess kind of Panic at the Disco-y. Maybe. But also, I mean, Dresden Dolls? Is that the name of that band? Cabaret sort of style, electronic-y modern music. You know, like Tape 5 or what's some of those other bands? There's elements of that here. And mostly I think it has to do with the piano playing. I've been talking to Chris about this for a few years. I think you can tell when a song is written on the piano as opposed to on the guitar. There's a difference.
And we're dying
Obviously
with
more than just what
every
you hear.
step we take. We're dying with every breath we make. And I'll fall in line. A stranger's back is all I see. He's only a few feet in front of me. And I'll look left and right sometimes, but I'll fall in line. No one looks up anymore, 'cause you might get a raindrop in your eye, and heaven forbid they see you cry as we fall in line. And about this time of every year, the line will go to the ocean pier and walk right off into the sea. Then we fall asleep.
It's an interesting piano sound. Sounds like a combination, maybe piano and or a very slappy sort of piano sound. Awesome. Oscillating. Yeah. Awesome. Sounds great. The crispiness of the frequencies. Oh. I mean, that sure sounds like a real snare to me.
And our ocean graves are just beyond the sand. I ask myself the question why. I fall in line, then out.
Will I fall in line? He kind of sings like Goofy from Disney, like if Goofy had a higher-pitched voice, right? In my head. Find me instead. Like it's so. What's the word for that? When you have such a specific style of singing that's your own. Like it's very stylistic for sure. It's the cleanness of everything that just is getting to me. Like nowadays, everything you're hearing would be run through tape saturation and all these effects and things to just drown it, to compress the snot out of it. It's just so nice to hear something so clean, and the space and the silence around the individual sounds that you're hearing. So much music nowadays there's no silence in any mix. You can't hear the quietness around a signal source. Vocals are quiet here.
This line's the only way.
This line's the only way. Like every single word he says has 45 extra syllables to them. It's very stylistic. Sorry. Love that. Just a I think those are his ahs. Earlier in this song, we did have sort of like a vocal synth patch, which was really nice, I think. It's obvious he's a very good singer. Man, they just surprise me so much. It's like they're trying to be an emo band with none of the emo band instruments. They're not approaching it that way at all, which is really unique.
Take me up, seal the door.
Vocals could be louder though.
I realize that this line is dead, so I'll follow you instead. So then
we haven't gotten like a rappy verse in a while.
So I might start another day, and once again I will be in a march to the sea.
The lyrics are very poetic. It's very taking a college class on poetry type of thing. But it's not, they're not bad. They're not cringy. They're artistic, I feel. It's what I've been paying attention to. You know, I'm not paying attention to the lyrics a ton. Okay, track 7, Johnny Boy.
He stays home from work this time. He never really
It's hard to program
told his
tom
wife.
drums.
He never really told a lie. And this time he decides that it's alright. It's alright. No one
The low
really
tom
knows
should be
his
on the
mind,
right.
and no one knows behind his eyes. The man deserves a medal, but he's never really won a prize before. He goes to lock the door. He's falling in love, you know.
The vocals are proper volume here. This whole song is like way louder than the previous one. The sounds are like wrapping around me. How interesting. How interesting what we're hearing is. It's so hard for me to explain. It's like what we're not hearing is almost more important than what we are hearing. We're not hearing guitars. We're not hearing... I think this song might have real bass on it. You know, we're just not hearing... It's very theatrical in a way that I feel bands are not at all now. But very much inspired by stuff like My Chemical Romance. I wish I knew more I could compare it to, but I really can't. I just never listened to music with vocals like this, ever. But the piano is just gorgeous, and I love piano. I wish more bands would utilize piano, actual piano sound. Oh. Does this song have more plays? This is awesome. Why did he say ground instead of floor? You know, floor with sound poetic alongside boy and all that other stuff. So he must have intentionally chose to say ground there. Especially the way that he sings. Man, all the songs are so long. They're so patient. But there's not a lot of times where it's just instruments happening. He's kind of vocaling the whole time. This is shocking. Vocal overdubs. Stepping upwards. Building, building, building.
Get up, Johnny boy. Get up, Johnny boy. Get up, 'cause the world has left you lying on the ground. You're my pride and joy. You're my pride and joy. Get up, Johnny boy, because we all need you now. Get up, Johnny boy.
Gang vocals.
Get up, Johnny boy. Get up, 'cause the world has
Female vocals in there,
on the ground.
I think.
You're my pride and joy.
Probably some of their buddies in the studio, friends. They mentioned that his mom was promoting the shows. Maybe that's his mom in there too. If that is, that would be so cool. So badass. That was awesome. That might be my favorite song on the album now.
Oh, misbeliever, my pretty sleeper. Your twisted
Christmas bells.
mind is like snow on the road.
He mentioned snow.
Your shaking shoulders prove
He's singing a lot cleaner here. Different style.
inside your head
Yeah.
than the winter of death. I
So he can turn his stylistic, accented way of singing on and off, obviously.
love you, but the muffs on your ears will cater your fears. My nose and feet are running as we start to travel through
Vocals a little low,
snow. Together we
but you can still clearly hear him. Nice. That sort of ultra close, dry, crispy. Blue. I equate it to Blue Foundation. Really great band. People should check out if you don't know who they are.
as we grow older.
Oh, this song has over 114 million. This is the biggest song on the album, minus Fail Away. Really? Very surprised. This. Interesting time thing there.
Oh, misbeliever, my pretty weeper, your twisted thoughts.
I did read on their wiki page that this album went like platinum or something after their huge Blurry Face album came out. How does that happen? And so they never released a single, I would assume, from this album. Like, why does this song have more plays than the rest of the album? Is it just because people found this one and enjoyed it and listened to it more? Did they use it in a movie or something? Do they play this song more live at the time or earlier on in their career when they had less songs to choose from? I'm really curious about that. So he's not singing with that accent really here at all. A little bit. I just clicked on Tyler Joseph to learn a little bit more about him. It says across his career he's recorded 9 albums, 1 solo. So he has a solo album. Born in 1988, so he's 2 years younger than me. He's the same age my sister is. His mom was an elementary teacher. Okay, sorry, we're moving on to the next song here. That one wasn't my favorite, surprisingly. Air Catcher. Love this. I love piano stuff. I just do. I know I keep saying it, but so many bands or artists are afraid to use anything that sounds like a real instrument, because maybe it would imply that they have to play that instrument. And obviously these guys can play a piano. The songs were written on a piano, you know? There's not even a guitar in this, I don't think. Maybe there's a guitar. Yeah, maybe there is. It says his first exposure to music was the Christian rap group DC Talk. I'm a huge Toby Mac fan. That's awesome. Ooh, I like the vocal harmonies here. And then those things happening on the side. Interesting. He recorded from 2007 to 2008. He was a senior in high school in his basement. Wow. He assisted in much of the production of singer Shania Twain's 6th album, Queen of Me. Interesting, it's talking about his tattoo. Sorry, I'm not paying attention. Okay, I'm gonna shut this. Sorry. Auto-tune here. Okay, interesting rhythmic thing there. I've heard that exact patch on In Reason. Interesting. Okay, so they're using auto-tune or some sort of Melodyne or something in a really interesting way here. Whoa. That might be a different person.
Try to avoid those eyes, but now I'm here to give
beautiful vocals.
words as tools that can destroy my heart.
Oh, that was nice. That was nice. I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention. I was reading about his personal life. Seems like an interesting person. Okay, Trapdoor we're on. I'm just going to focus on the music now, I promise. Nice bass line. The first sort of noticeable bass line that I've heard.
He wakes up early today, throws on a mask that will alter his face.
There are certain things about this that do just feel like someone in college making an album. It's really hard to explain, and I don't want to sound dismissive of it, because I'm not. I enjoy this a lot, but it makes me remember what I was like working on stuff in college, and I wish I had an ounce of this kind of talent. Because you can, you know, you can give the greatest songwriter in the world the worst tools and he'll still can create a masterpiece, but you can give a monkey that has a pretty dumb brain the greatest tools in the world and it might not ever make anything worthwhile listening to, you know?
Watch as this man disappears as we know. Do me a favor and try to ignore as you watch him fall through a bladed He thinks that faith might be dead. Nothing kills a man faster than his own head.
there's something that I like, that I enjoy of a singer that is it's right on the verge of on the tip of my mind, and I'm trying to think of who it is that he reminds me of the way he's singing. I don't know if I'm going to think of it. I think this is him doing the background vocals here. Again, that sounds like real cymbals to me. The whole thing sounds like real drums. Yes, I like that little line in there. I love that synth. What an interesting little synth. It's the whole album is not as compressed as music as it could be, and I kind of like it because of that. There's a looseness to the mix from song to song that's really nice. All right, we're going into track 11 now. A car, a torch, a death. Really curious about this one. Let's look at the lyrics.
The air begins to feel a little thin as I start the car, and then I begin to add the miles piled up behind.
Lo-fi way the vocals sound a little bit.
I barely feel a smile deep inside me, and I begin to envy the headlights driving south.
Doesn't want to go where he's got to go.
I want to crack the door so I can just fall out. But
sad
then
dude.
I remember when you packed my car. You reached in the back and buckled up your heart for me to drive away with. I began to understand why God died.
Whoa! What is that whistle thing? That sounds like a bird in a jungle at a zoo. How interesting. Interesting vocal treatment now.
It was a little dark, so we held a makeshift torch.
Are they British? Torch is like a British term for flashlight. But I guess you don't make a makeshift flashlight, so maybe it is a torch.
He crept in her room and stayed there for the night. And then I felt
Doubled vocals.
I began to understand why God died. The air begins to feel a little thin as we're waiting for the morning to begin. But for now, you told me to hold inside. I saw it held your heart for me to walk away.
That whistle thing is crazy.
I began to understand why God died.
Interesting. That was a good song. I like that one a lot. That one might be one of my favorites. Taxi Cab. Isn't there a song called Taxi Cab later on in their albums? One of their songs?
I wanna fall inside your ghost and fill up every hole inside my mind. And I want everyone to know that I am half a soul divided. Sometimes we will die and sometimes we will fly away. The way you're by my side until my dying days. And if I'm not there and I'm far away, I said, don't be afraid. I said, don't be afraid. We're going home.
This seems like a bit more of like a straightforward song. Piano, bass, drums, right?
Strip myself of breath, a breathless piece of death I've made for you. A mortal rotting piece of song will help me carry on, but at least you heard. Oh, sometimes we will die and sometimes we will fly away. The way you're by my side until my dying day.
Bass is really bass and like you the
And I'm far away.
your bass is really bassing.
Don't be afraid.
High note there.
I said, don't be afraid. We're going home.
I mean, the drums still have some of the songs drums have this nice room sound to them, whether it was created, used as a preset, in a drum thing.
Hearse ran out of gas, a passenger
Okay.
person grabbed a map and the driver inside it contrived a new route to save the passenger.
We've had like 7 songs in a row or more with no rapping verse.
Had it cleared out back and 2 men started to unpack. Driving once again, but now this time there were 3 men. And then I heard one of them say, I know the night will turn to gray. I know the stars will start to fade when all the darkness fades away. We had to steal him from his fate so he could see another day. Then I cracked open my box. Someone must have picked the lock. A little light revealed the spot where my fingernails had fought. Then I pushed it open more, pushing up against the door. Then I sat up off the floor and found the breath I was searching for. That they were 3 men up front, All I saw were backs of heads, and then I asked, am I alive and well, or am I dreaming dead? Then one turned around to say, we're driving toward the morning sun, where all your blood is washed away and all you did will be undone.
Couple of extra elements in the song here. It's really neat when he does that rapping thing because it's so different and opposite of what most rap is. Like, there's not other vocals in it, there's no overdubbing, there's no accentuated parts. He's just one line of vocals over the drums rapping, basically. And organ, I think, in there. I mean, I'm going to say this at the end too, but the piano playing is the best part of this album. All right, track 13, Before You Start Your Day. Different sounding piano. There's low frequencies in this one. Not that there weren't before, but a lot of earlier on in the album, they were using more patches on a keyboard that sound less realistic, I guess.
To make your slits look just right. I'm in your
This sounds like a real piano to me.
I'm singing. I'm in your mind.
How long is this video? We're still under 2 hours, but pretty good, considering that I spoke for an hour beforehand. Ooh. Okay.
Look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're alright. Put on the glitter that your soul hides behind. You're in my mind. I'm singing. You're in my mind. I'm singing. La, da, la, da,
Okay, build it up again.
la, da, la, da, la, da, la, da.
Yep, and then it ends. Yep, okay, that's what he did before. Interesting. I was curious listening in this one about the strings. If I can kind of hear how it was done. Ooh. That low frequency. That rumbling. Really interesting. That like digital interference sound that like really cool. Very subtle. A lot of subtle things here. But not a lot of things. It's still staying pretty simplistic. Oh, cool. This is the best sounding piano on the album. This sounds like real piano to me, like a grand piano. And it's being played dynamically by a person that can actually play the piano. Dry vocals. Totally dry. Makes it feel more intimate. As the song's ending here. Very nice. Beautiful song. Great way to end the album. So I'm curious what the final track is then. Isle of Flightless Birds right now. I mean, that's almost like a harpsichord-y sounding thing. Clavichord type thing. Very cool. That sounds like... Probably not, but that could be a real harpsichord or something. It doesn't really sound like a harpsichord, though. Lower frequencies, I guess, on the harpsichord, which you don't hear that often. Let's go. We got gorillas in the house. I want to rap over this.
Now is the climax to the story that gives the demons and angels purpose.
Purpose. Love the way he said that. Vocals are a little low here. Interesting. Nice. Vocal overdub. Little distortion happening. Sounds nice though.
All we are is an isle of flightless birds. We find our worth in giving birth and stuff. We're lining our homes against winding roads, and we think the going is tough. We pick songs to sing, remind us of things that nobody cares about.
Kind of Eminem-ish, I guess.
Probably more suicidal than ever now. If you decide to live by what you think's wrong and what's right, believe me, you'll begin to wish you were sleeping. Your weeping will creep in your head and you'll cry. But if we wake up every morning and decide what we believe, we can take apart our very heart and the light will set us free.
Like that. Free. Ended it. Dry. Some of the songs had like pretty definable choruses, which I liked. But honestly, I don't really mind the songs that are a little bit more artistic, I guess. And like
And so degrading. As time we're wasting, as time will fly by, and the sky will cry as light is fading, and he is waiting. Oh, so patiently while we repeat the same routine as we will please comfortability. And please think about why you can sleep in the evening, and please don't be afraid of what your soul.
he needed a few extra syllables while you can sleep in the evening.
Your soul knows both sides, and it's time you pick your battle, and I promise you this is mine.
That cymbal is distorted on the right. That's open hi-hat. Which is interesting. I like it. It's a nice way to kind of differentiate that from the other cymbals that are happening. Okay. Interesting. I real quick, I want to say that that last track and then the track before it. Interesting that they chose to end the album that way. I feel like track 13 would have almost sonically is more of a final track than track 14, which is Isle of Flightless Birds. But the Isle of Flightless Birds did feel like a final track, and he was talking even in the lyrics. It said at the beginning of the song, it said what? Now this is the climax of the story, right? So he's literally there saying this is the end of the story, this particular story, and it. So I don't mind the way that happened. It was a longer song. I liked the 2 rap verses. I liked the singing parts as well. The piano was gorgeous. So I think that's an interesting way that they did that. The final 4 tracks on this album were pretty good. Taxi Cab I thought was maybe a smidge straightforward compared to a lot of the other stuff on the album. But interesting to the way that the album ended there. Okay. I gotta take my sweatshirt off real quick. Hold on. I knew I was gonna have to do this. I thought I had to do this. So I took my shirt in. So no. Okay. There we go. Okay. From Jason's Michael. Okay. So album thoughts as a whole. At first, I was listening to the album, and it was sort of like the quaintness of it, and I don't mean that in a derogatory or negative way at all. I just mean like. Again, I graduated from college in 2007, so I can very clearly picture in my head the equipment that was probably used to graduate from college in 2007. I don't know if I said graduated or graduated, but I meant from college, from audio, working in a studio, at a college with the equipment I had and everything. And I can imagine, and I'm sure they had way better equipment than me. I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm just saying my experience allows me, I feel, to relate to the way this album was made in a way that I very rarely can ever relate to something. And I try actually personally not to try to relate to things as much because I want to distance myself from any sort of nostalgic feeling or emotion tied to things, because I'm not a big fan of nostalgia. I think there's obviously a place for nostalgia, and there are many things that I like that I liked in ye olden days, but I like to have tangible reasons for why I like and think why I like the things I like and why I think the things that I do. And nostalgia, it only muddies those waters. So for me, I don't have any problem justifying anything I've ever liked, whether I'm talking about NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or Britney Spears or Nelly or whatever stuff was popular when I was in high school, or DC Talk or, Toby Mac and things like that. I have no problem. I don't feel guilty that I don't think there is any such thing as guilty pleasure music, because if you like it for a reason. And if you think about the reason why, it only helps you understand on a deeper level. And that is one of the core sort of fundamental things that I think about in the way I approach things, especially here on the channel. I try to always give a reason for and back up my opinion in the things that I'm saying with reason. So, honestly, I don't even remember what I was going with that, but I guess that is important to say. But I think that, the relating to the way that the album was made. So the quaintness at first was kind of interesting. And when I say quaintness, what I mean is the being able to picture in my head maybe how they recorded all this, where they were sitting, what the environment may have looked like. And I'm sure in my head I'm making up a totally different scenario than actually happened, but it's very fun to think about things like that and to picture the screen of the computer and the clicking of the mouse, as they're doing making this album. And so that was really interesting. And then what I was kind of trying to say throughout the album there was this album was made very differently than big budget albums are made, which it wasn't a big budget album. But this album was made differently because there is space in the mix. The whole thing isn't compressed to snot, which not all music is, but this album had space and breathiness to it. And as I said when was listening, it's almost more about what you're not hearing as opposed to what you are hearing. You're hearing a piano and you're hearing drums of some sort, and then so a lot of the songs you're hearing bass. And in a lot of the verses, you weren't really hearing bass at all. That would maybe come in during some of the choruses and stuff. Some of the songs did have a more definable, clear bass part. But towards the beginning part of the album, there wasn't as much bass on it at all. And it was just kind of simple stuff. Whether it was actual played bass or some programmed synth bass type thing or whatever, or just they were using low frequencies from string patches and different things, different synthetic elements to give you that low frequency boost during choruses and things. But the space, you're hearing piano, bass, and drums, and then his vocals. And when you are a young amateur, more amateuristic musician, and someone that's young in the industry, there are so many things that people tend to do on their albums that did not happen here. And that just goes to show you how confident they were in this and how they had the right people surrounding them probably to tell them no. Because one thing vocalists do all the time on their first albums is they record so many different takes of themselves and they want to overdub themselves 1,000 times and they think their voice sounds better layered and layered and layered. And I think there's a place for that. I think there is a place for lots of layered vocals. But these guys must have had someone there telling them, or they were just smart enough to do it themselves, to know that a lot of the times less is more. More is too much. And the lack of superfluous things being in these songs is very impressive to me. And I hope that makes sense. Like I said, it's more of what you're not hearing than what you are hearing. That's where the impressiveness of this album comes into me. Also, I've said in the Breach reaction, I was shocked that they used so much piano, and this is a piano album. I don't even think I heard a guitar. Maybe that one song that was a little more like a kind of straightforward song with some rock guitar in the chorus, I think, just holding out some chords or something. And like I said in the song, it may not have even been a guitar. It could have been some sort of a distorted element that kind of was acting like a guitar. But this is a piano album. And I just love it when you can hear someone playing a keyboard of some kind in music. A lot of the music that I listen to is metal or it's more complex stuff. Not to say that this isn't complex, but the sonic palette that you're listening to is more aggressive or it's more filled. It's a wall of sound. And oftentimes when you have that, unless it's a ballad, like Nightwish, one of my favorite bands, right? Nightwish is one of those rare bands where you can hear Thomas in Nightwish playing the piano. But a lot of other metal bands that have keyboards in it, they rarely ever play the piano. And I'm not going to get into the reasons for that and like the stigmas of metal and what it sounds like when you're playing a piano and what a piano part like implies and things like that. Although I do find those things kind of interesting. But the piano is so special here because it sounds like a person playing the piano, playing parts that they wrote on the piano, and all of the songs came, I'm assuming, from piano first. And as I mentioned, I really think that you can tell the difference between, and it's hard to even point it out or to say what it is exactly, but the difference between a song that was written on the piano and a song that was written on guitar, whether it's acoustic guitar, electric guitar, or whatever. Whether it's a metal song writing metal riffs, a metal song with metal riffs, or some sort of strummed like Bob Dylan song or something. There's a difference between that and a song written on a piano. And in music as a whole, especially popular music at all, music written on a piano is, I feel, much more rare than music written on a guitar. I feel like a lot of music is just dude sits down with guitar and comes up with the basic structure of the song on the guitar. You can do that too with piano. That's why I like certain artists like Damon Albarn, Janov from my favorite band of all time, Kaiser's Orchestra from Norway. Like you can just feel the plunkiness and the way of writing, I guess, on a piano that's different from on a guitar. And I'm not even saying like in the final version of a song, right? Like Depeche Mode, right? They write a lot of things on the piano. Martin can play piano and he can play guitar. And so I feel like you can hear and maybe tell some of the songs where he came at from more of a piano perspective, right? And Depeche Mode is a great example of this because, and I think like 21 Pilots as well, they might sit down and write the whole song on a piano, right? So if you hear the acoustic version of the song, it's the vocals and the piano. But then when you hear the actual full production of the song, there is no piano in it, right? They take the piano away and they add, especially in modern pop music, they take the melody and the chordal structure and everything away. And then the only melodic thing you're really hearing is the vocals sitting on top of basically what's acting as like sound effects and then booming low frequency, right? That's all the drums are doing. They're giving you, it's like sound effect drums, bleeps and bloops and things. And then there is some sort of a low, constant like a bass sound that's basically just the root of each chord. And then that's pretty much all it is. Maybe there's some sound effects and some whooshy things, but the vocals are primarily the only melodic thing. And so when you're hearing someone playing a piano, the whole point of the piano is that it's melodic in nature the entire time. You know, you're not just hearing him play single notes or little runs or melodies on the piano. You're hearing the piano. You're hearing a person performing the piano, and that is such a special thing, especially in pop music, unless it's a ballad. You know, so Adele has several songs, I believe, that are just like piano and her singing. Those are pretty much ballady type songs, and Adele might be a little different, and I'm not super familiar with her music, just through the singles. But I know that she is highly regarded, and I think the musicality of her songs is one of those reasons. And you can hear the musicality way more easily to the average person when you can hear a person performing an instrument, rather than something like Lorde or maybe even Billie Eilish, who I do consider Billie Eilish to be very musically talented, and her brother especially too. But they do the thing where you maybe write the piano song out and then you take those elements away and you replace them with like synth bass and a drum beat and whatever, or like do 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 do, right? Which is still a little melody, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Something like this is like taking all of those things, all of that superfluous material, and stripping it all away and leaving you with just the core of what the music is, what the songs are. It is a piano, it is drums, it is low frequencies, however those sounds are being created. And there is something simplistic and like raw in not the way it was recorded. It doesn't sound raw at all. You know, it doesn't sound like a piano that was sitting in someone's garage, you know, and it's not mixed that way. It sounds very professional. It almost sounds a little too crisp and clear and nice and fake at times. But what you're left with is just the bare bones of a song. And it is being performed because that's the way they performed it, probably live. And then that's what they did. That's how they knew how to do what they're doing. And so it's very interesting to take that approach and that they used on this entire album and then compare it to Breach, obviously, which Breach, I only listened to it the one time and then the second time while I was editing the video. And I haven't listened to it since then, but I need to go back and do that again. I don't think it's going to be on my top 12, but I'm just discovering this band now, and I think I will grow to appreciate them with each album I listen more. I personally, just right now thinking about it, almost think that this album, their self-titled debut, left more of an impact on me than Breach. I think Breach sounded better, maybe. Yeah, probably. I think so. It's just a completely different thing, though. It's coming from a different place, right? So I almost feel like this album left a bit more of an impression on me, even though there were things and elements to it that I wouldn't necessarily say that I liked as much, like the structuring of the songs, lack of clearly identifiable choruses. The poetic nature of the lyrics and the way that he was delivering them is not really something that usually speaks to me, but for some reason, this worked. This worked really well, I feel. In terms of production stuff, the album was a little inconsistent from song to song. I feel like the vocals were pretty consistent level across the album, but for some reason on some of the songs, the music was much louder or lower. And so it was dynamically mixed in a good way, but I feel like it could have almost used a little bit more taming down, a little bit more compression in some of the musical elements to allow the vocals to still sit on top of it, because I think the vocals were really great across the entire album. The front half of the album had those really crazy stylistic vocals where he was really pushing that stylistic vocal cadence that he has. And that just is something to me that's probably one of the things I'm going to have to try as hardest to overcome. And I think I've already overcome it because I enjoyed those songs too. But for me, from a purely like, what am I listening to standpoint, that is something that really does stand out as something that is not really for me. But again, on this album, it did kind of work. And then I feel as the album went on, he kind of dropped that like persona almost while singing, and it became much more standard singing and just focusing on the notes rather than the style of the notes. So I guess there's positives and negatives to that as well. It became a little bit more generic as it went along. The first few songs were definitely more stylistic. And I do appreciate stylistic music and stylistic vocals and a more stylistic approach. And I definitely appreciate music where the production element of the music is more integral to like where the way an album sounds is like a part of the overall enjoyment of the album. How do I say that? Like, this was more straightforward, but when you have an album where the production of the album becomes an essential element to the character of the way the album sounds as a whole, I love that. And I think that albums that are really well produced and have their own uniqueness to them are really special, and that's a reason that makes them special. Whereas albums like this are special because the songwriting was great. It was there from the very beginning of when they sat down to try to do this, and then they captured everything really well, especially for, as far as I understand, as little as they may have known at the time or as little experience as they had. I also have to say too, I was thinking while this was going, there's only so many different like ways you can play a piano, right? Like one of them is sort of like rock and roll piano, right? Like the dun 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 dun, dun, like right, kind of like maybe 50s, 50s, 60s, maybe 50s kind of style of rock and roll piano, like Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley type stuff, kind of, I guess. That's one style, and then there's jazz, right, which is very large and it can encompass pretty much almost anything, but it is to me more of a intelligent, not that the rock and roll playing's it's not dumb, but it's more of a intelligent way of approaching playing, more stylistic, I guess. But then and that's hard for me to even quantize that. But then the third way you can play is, I was thinking, is kind of like gospel-y music, like more of a just like when you go to church and you see a band playing at church and it's just, there's just something about it and you're just like, oh. And I have to say, worship music, praise music is like my least favorite genre of music because so often it seems like so inauthentic and just like spitting in the face of what it's actually trying to be. And it's just so cringy. Kind of like wizard rock music, if anybody knows rock music with the W. Like, you have people who are so passionate about what they're singing about, but they didn't really stop to think about the actual performing part of it at all. It's just that they have the song in their heart and they have to let it go, and it's just so cringy, awful. Oh, blah. And the way this album was kind of approached was a little bit from that perspective of like, and I was reading on his wiki page just a little bit about being involved into some church thing and all this stuff. And I am Catholic, and so I understand that part of it and all that stuff. And it was it's interesting to think about it from that perspective. And then, like I said, just the mere fact that there's no swearing on this album or on Breach at all, I was very surprised about. I do have to say, while we're here just for a moment, the song A Car, A Torch, A Death, that you may have seen in the video, it got to me a little bit, and I was looking at the lyrics, and, whatever. A lot of the songs have, like, personal lyrics to the guy, and or I don't know if it's personal or not, maybe he's just really great at writing lyrics that, like, I get to you or whatever. But when I was paying attention to it, I don't really know what the song is about exactly. You can kind of like imagine what it is, or you kind of think what kind of how it's going. It's definitely not a happy song, but looking at the lyrics to that song, there was one line that got to me. And it's interesting because, and I don't want to break this down too deeply, but I hope maybe people can understand. But the line specifically that got to me was, I began to understand why God died. And it's like, that one line can mean so many different things depending on context, what it means, all that stuff. You can think about it really deeply from like a Christian understanding of who God is and Jesus and stuff. And that means something very, very profound and deep to people who understand that. But to a lot of people nowadays, I would assume that that line would maybe mean something completely different, like the loss of something rather than gaining the most important thing that you could gain, you know? So it's very interesting. And when I was thinking about that, it just got to me a little bit. And I mean, I was thinking about everything that's happened to me over the last year and a half and everything. And I suppose that's the whole point of music like this and why the lyrics mean so much to so many people and the message and all that stuff. But as I've said before, that's not really my thing with it. But sometimes stuff just breaks through there and gets to you a little bit. So that was interesting to hear. That song, the vocals, the entire song were sort of like a lo-fi feeling to them the entire time. But that song very much felt like a telling a story song, sort of along the lines of like maybe a Tom Waits song or something, where it's just like a poetic, you're taking a story and just making it in song format, which some songs are stories, but they're still a song. This was more of a story as a song that did have definable parts and not necessarily a chorus, but a couple lines that repeated multiple times, especially towards the end of the song. So that song to me is probably the one I'll remember the most from this album, just because it impacted me, I guess, that way, which looking at the plays, it's not one of the bigger plays songs on here. The other songs that stick out to me on the album is definitely Johnny Boy. That one stuck out. Fall Away is pretty good. Sometimes when I do an album like this, I forget what the beginning part of the album was at all. I think March to the Sea was interesting. The Water one was, is that Friend Please? Is that what that one was? Which one was The Water? Oh, Addict with a Pen, I think. Yeah. That song really stuck out to me a lot. I thought that one was really great. Aircatcher was really cool, and I liked the sounds of it, but that was the one that I was kind of not paying attention because I was reading his wiki a little bit, so I apologize for that. Before You Start the Day was great. Isle of Flightless Birds, great. The beginning of the album, I think, feels a little bit more like what they would probably go on to do, I would assume, and a little bit less. It was still poetic, but there was more elements to those songs, and they felt more, with the exception of the first track, which again, brave of them to start the album with just a minute of piano, and then to have a 5-minute song be first on your album. However, this whole thing doesn't really give off like we care what people think about us vibes too much. Especially with some of the decisions that they made. Like I said, that first track is an interesting first track for an album, and it's so long, and then it was kind of weird and definitely stood out from the rest of the songs on the album with the like washy cymbals and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I don't know what this is going to be, and then from there on the album was different. I feel like it was a little bit more fun at the beginning of the album. Pantaloon, I think, if I remember correctly, was a little more fun. Fall Away, the big single from this album, or at least one of the bigger singles. Oh Miss Believer, I was kind of disappointed in that, or not disappointed, I guess. I wasn't disappointed with anything. Nothing sounded bad or was like negative to me really in any way. And I wouldn't even say anything was negative to me. Even some of the stuff that I've been saying is like, oh, this is like, there's like a quaintness to this. Like I can relate to this in my like stupidity and stuff like that. Like, that stuff I don't even mean as a negative, but I do think Oh Miss Believer, I'm very surprised that was a song that has like over 100 million plays compared to some of the other stuff on here. I am surprised that Oh Miss Believer, so that would almost make me wonder if it was used in a movie or something, and there's a reason that one, and it only has, like the song before it, Johnny Boy, it only has 14 million more plays than that one essentially, maybe 20 million more plays than that one, which is a lot. But when you're looking at these numbers, it really isn't that much, I guess, comparatively. So it is interesting to think of that. That would make me think that that song either stayed with them in their live show longer, and so people know it more, and they tend to listen to that one more, or it was somehow released as a single at some point, though I don't know how that could have been the case, or, you know, like it just was used in a movie or some piece of material at some point that got that one to stand out above the other songs. Like, I don't think that song was any more special than any of the other songs on the album. And I think it could be compared to a lot of the other stuff too. It was a little different, but yeah. I have to say too, reading his Wikipedia page and finding out that he was inspired by Toby Mac and DC Talk, that explains a lot in terms of his ability, Tyler's ability to not be afraid to just like rap at any point, you know, and to be more willing to try really diverse ideas musically and include things that may not necessarily fit into the norm, because that is what Toby Mac, I really am a big Toby Mac fan, and he just released an album last year that I thought was okay. I think it was last year, that I thought was all right, but he hasn't really released an album that blew me away since I think his album called This Was a Test, which is I think like 2014 or 2015, maybe 2016. But I been a huge fan of Toby Mac's solo career since DC Talk broke up and he released his Momentum in 2001. I think it was 2001. And I've been a big fan of his. And one of the reasons I love him as an artist is because you literally don't know what you're going to get from song to song. You could get a metal song following a throwback old-timey soul song, following a hip-hop song, following a funk song. You can get anything. And that's why his music is literally based on the idea of being diverse. And like it really is. And so I love that Tyler was inspired by that. I didn't even necessarily say inspired. It just said one of the first artists that he was in contact with. But it totally makes sense that it totally makes sense to me that is the case. And I can see it in this. And I'm hoping as we go forward, he wasn't afraid to take risks on stuff like they did. Even some of the things on here, like I know it doesn't sound like a huge risk to start the album off with like 1 minute of piano and then having a bit of a weird song be the intro, but that is kind of a risk. You know, a lot of artists just put their single as track 1 on their album because that's what people want to hear and that's what they want to give to people first. But that is not the case here. And so I'm hoping that they keep that openness and willingness to try different things and maybe things that don't necessarily fit inside the norm throughout their career. I really hope so. There were a lot of things that surprised me on Breach, but that was all coming from the perspective of someone not really knowing what to expect. And now that I've heard that, the most recent thing that they've come to in the culmination of their career thus far, coming back to the very beginning and hearing where it started, I'm really hoping that everything in the middle is as intriguing as both of these two albums that I've heard are. And I hope that it will be. I think that it will be. Nobody really was like, go back and listen to their first album. You know, some people were saying like, you should start from the beginning and go on. You'll have a great journey ahead of you, blah, blah, blah. And I appreciated that stuff too. But I almost felt more like when people would mention a specific album, it's like, okay, I've had like 10 mentions of Clancy, 20 mentions of Trench. A lot of people were saying they thought I would like Trench. And then when I talked to my friend Chris, he said Blurry Face is their like quintessential album. And so I was like, okay, and I don't know how many other albums that might be the only album of theirs that he's really heard, but he's definitely been more aware of them than I have been. So, yeah. I hope that this reaction lived up to everybody's expectations based on the first one. It's a different album to listen to for sure. And I apologize so much for talking so much at the beginning of the video. I hope everybody's okay with that. This is going to be a 2.5 hour long video, and I hope everybody's okay with that. I'm very tempted as we sit here now to cut a lot of that stuff at the beginning because it's not super important. And maybe one of the reasons that first 21 Pilots reaction did so good was that I didn't do that at the beginning of the video. I just got right into it. And so we'll see what I end up cutting out and what ends up happening. I could move some of the stuff to the end of the video But again, I kind of trust that people understand how YouTube works at this point and that you can skip to the different sections of the video. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel just by watching the video. Thank you for liking the video if you did, or commenting. I appreciate that so much. I talked about it at the beginning enough. I think you understand that the comments meant a lot to me, and positive comments mean a lot. If you hate the way I'm doing it, let me know that too. It is important to get that feedback that's negative. Just try to be a little constructive with it as well. You know, the guy that said that my nose whistle was too much, I'm aware of it. I try. I shave the inside of my nose when I can. That's what causes the whistling, I believe, the hair inside my nose. And I'm a super hairy dude, although I've been shaving my arms since I lost all the hair off my arms last year or earlier this year after the transplant. Because when I have to go in and get infusions and stuff, it's easier to just have a shaved arm. It doesn't matter. No one cares about that. But I appreciate stuff like that. Even someone complaining about my nose whistling, I understand it. I definitely understand it. So thank you to everyone for watching. We'll move on to their next album, and my plan is to go in order, but you'll have to wait several weeks probably between the videos. So I appreciate that. And if everybody really wants these videos faster, leave comments letting me know, like, oh, I wish you wouldn't take so long. Like, let's try to get this done by the end of the year. If you guys want them that fast, I'll work on it and try to do them as fast as I can. And I may try to bring Chris in or one of my friends to do some of these with me, and we'll see how you guys feel about that. But you can go look on the channel and check out all the other stuff that I've done, and you might be surprised some of the bands that we have done reactions to. And maybe you'll discover some new stuff along the way if you want to check out some of that stuff. But I understand 3-hour videos are not necessarily for everybody, so I appreciate everybody that's been here this whole time with me for this video. I won't talk anymore. I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next video, and that's what I'll do. I will see you all next time.